Welcome to episode 202 of Broad Street Hustle. I'm your host, Tommy Nanny, bringing you a fun and exciting playoff edition of Philadelphia sports tonight. As we talk Phillies, Sixers, and Flyers, Sixers and Flyers both embarking on the playoffs. We're going to recap the Masters. Just a touch to start. So let's go around the room. We got, as always, Jason Sada.
What's up, Tom?
Jason, how's it going? And we got Jimmy the Chalk.
What's up, Tom?
What's up, Jimmy? And we do expect a special guest for our Flyers NHL playoff segment. Not on yet. Hopefully he will join us, so you might see him pop on at some point towards the end. So it should be pretty exciting, as this is probably the first time we're going to talk serious Flyer talk, relatively speaking, for ever on Broad Street Hustle. Maybe.
I mean, I've bashed them for their history of not being relevant for 20 years, but I don't think we've ever gotten
I think we did a little talk before the draft a couple years ago. Maybe we talked for a little bit.
My thought was, remember we did like
they took Gauthier live on.
Remember we did like the last 40 years. Like that's 40 years or something. I think
that was by far the most.
Yes.
So it should be. We'll see how our hockey knowledge is, how rusty we are with our hockey knowledge. But before we begin, tonight's episode, as always, brought to you by Giovannina's Pizza. You tried the rest. Now go ahead and try the best. All right, let's start. Let's kick it off real quick here with the Masters. So I'm sure everybody saw Rory took it home, back-to-back winner, last time since Tiger. I mean, it's funny. You look at kind of. You watch it on Thursday, and then you see how the end of the results are. It goes Rory 1, Scheffler 2. Cam Young is T3. Justin Rose is T7. Morikawa T. So Xander was T9. So it's like the big names outside of Rahm and DeChambeau were played, kind of how a lot of how we kind of saw it, how the public saw it. I mean, obviously we didn't have Rory. Chalky, I think you were against them, if I recall.
Yes, absolutely.
I do remember seeing his transcript.
I definitely remember seeing that.
Yeah. I mean, look, you see, we talked about all those trends. He's only the fourth back-to-back winner ever, and he went wire to wire.
And
in a very
Cam Young too, because you guys both were the Mr.
And he was right there. He was right there.
So, I mean, some of these trends, I don't know. And we'll do quick, and I'll let you guys talk, though. It's like every tournament now you watch, and I think I've talked about that before. Nobody just goes out and wins these tournaments anymore. It's somebody doesn't screw up as much as the other guy screwed up, and they win. Like Rory gave this tournament to whoever wanted to take. Cam Young had it. He shoots 1 or 2 over, or whatever it was. Russell Henley was right there. He falls. Justin Rose is going to be tied for the lead. He misses a 12-inch putt, not even an 8-inch putt.
Yeah.
And then he fell apart after that. Scheffler did what we talked about. He has that one round that he shot 2 over, didn't make a putt. And then on, then Saturday, Sunday, he comes and he finished second, but honestly, he wasn't even close. Like, it was over by the 12th hole, right? I mean, there was for what it looked like it was going to build up to be towards the end. It kind of laid an egg there at the end. It's where he just kind of held that commanding three-shot lead and never really. And honestly, if Scheffler's on his neck, 18, I don't know if Rory hits a driver on 18, he's going to play a little more conservative, I think. So even that bogey could have been questionable. I know. What do you guys think, Jason?
I mean, honestly, I think it was over Friday night, and I know, because Rory had the 6-shot lead, and I know he gave it up, but this is a tournament and a course and all where, you're not just going to blow through it and shoot 20 under, I mean, there might have been 1 or 2 guys that have, done that in the past, but you're going to have your ebbs and flows, and he just built himself such a cushion that he was able to not have a great day on Saturday, not really have a great day on Sunday either, to be honest, but he just had that cushion that, nobody else had. So we mentioned driving and driving accuracy. He was I think he was second from last with driving accuracy. So, but I think he was in driving distance. He might have been. I had these numbers written down.
Oh yeah, I mean,
driving
if he wasn't
top. Driving accuracy was So this is a course where I think we mentioned it. Like, you don't have to be accurate. You just got to bomb it at this course, and
Yeah,
then
and if you're the only way you obviously if you're not accurate, you pay is if you're in a hazard out. You're in water. Or if you get unlucky and you hit into the woods, like we saw Cam Young do a bunch of times,
Yeah.
and you get a bounce that now you're behind a tree and you're literally just punching. Other than that, I mean, Rory, there was a couple holes where Rory was in the rough and he's like, whatever, 80 from the hole. And there's a guy in the dead fairway that's 160 from the, it's like double. He was like doubling
Yeah.
something, so
Yeah.
you could punch out there and be
Yeah.
fine.
And for me, Scheffler is frustrating. I mean, to be honest, though, Scheffler, to me, that was Scheffler, right? Because his approach was great. His drives were even better than normal. Like, I mean, his driving's good as it is, but his drives are good. His approach was great, and he can't putt. That's Scheffler. Like, in the past, like earlier this year, he was putting pretty well, but his approaches were terrible. This was Scheffler. Like you said, he had the bad Friday where he was 2 over, and he just never, he couldn't recover from that. I mean, he finished well. He finished 1 stroke back, and who knows if Rory's more conservative, if he's right on him. But he played well. He gave up the 1 round, and that's why he lost. I mean, really. We were good though. We hit our make the cut bet. So I thought that was a good push by us. I know I had my top 20s. I had Shoffley, I had Matsuyama, I had Reed. So I did pretty well there. I didn't have the winner. I didn't think McIlroy could do back to back. It's kind of silly to think that these guys can't do back to back, because we did mention like that this is a tournament that you're not going to have some clown win this tournament. Like, it's going to be one of your top golfers. It's just the way it is. And it's just a guy that, we probably stupidly just dismissed just because he won last year. Can't do that.
Yeah. And I think there was a list, and I don't remember if I said it last week, where there was 7 guys. I had 7 guys who could win based on the historical trend, like the shots gained. It was like something I saw on Twitter. And the 7 guys were Roy Scheffler, Young, Hatton, who I pushed, and he finished team 3 actually. Rose, Morikawa, Shoffley, Rahm, and DeChambeau. Rahm and DeChambeau were the only 2 that didn't finish in the top 10.
So one thing I'll mention. Good.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, one thing I'll mention about Morikawa is I had a future bet on him, and I didn't bring him up because he was hurt. But if you look at his history at the Masters, he crushes that course. He plays well there. I didn't bring him up. I wound up hitting my top 20 on him. I didn't mention that because I didn't mention it on the show, but these guys that have played well in the past at this course will continue to play well.
I actually think Russell Henley was one. If they showed a statistic on Sunday, he finished in like top 10 like 3 times or in the Masters or something like.
It's a course.
And then it makes sense. I mean, you do it in horse racing a lot, where you obviously after the race and you look at the winner and you go back to the PPs and you make cases. But like you find out Rory played Augusta however many times prior leading up to it. He won last year.
No.
So it's like you said, Jason. I mean, you don't want to just say these guys can't go back to back because it's stupid, and we were proven stupid to say that. But yeah, you start to learn reasons why he was able to go back to back, and some of it was getting that monkey off his back and winning last year. I mean, because his game says he should have been winning Masters prior, but he wasn't. Chalky, anything?
I mean, when you talk about the back-to-back, I mean, just to dismiss and say, no, they can't, seem foolish. But, I mean, when you look at who just did it before, okay, Jack did it, Nick Faldo did it, and Tiger did it. They were the best players in the game at those respective times. Now, Rory is what, 2nd or 3rd ranked? So he's up there. But after winning the Masters last year, he completely fell off a little bit. And maybe that was just he didn't care because he got the monkey off his back. So, his form at the time you could say wasn't conducive to that. But I mean, look, it was a crazy way to go wire to wire. Tied for the lead after round 1, a record lead after round 2, back to tied to the lead at round 3, and then you hold on in the final round. I mean, you talk about guys that fell apart. I mean, Burns had the lead after the first hole, and then he double bogey. He gave it right back. I mean, so he put a little bit of running on the back 9 towards the end, but he couldn't catch back up. And the only player who had 4 rounds under par was Justin Rose, and he missed a couple putts, like you said. So he shot 2 under, 3 under, 3 under, 2 under for 10 in the end. So look, Friday tanked Scotty, and it left him no room for error, and he left a couple putts out there on Saturday. He nails 2 of those. You're talking about different stories. So Rory, give him all the credit in the world, because he put those great 2 very, very good and great first 2 rounds together. And everybody else had to be almost perfect, and he just had to not mess up enough, and he managed to do that, even though he let everybody back in.
I mean, the one thing, though, I will say, I think you slight Rory just a little, because although he did give up the lead, and then all of a sudden he went, birdie to go 13 under. I mean, he made shots that got him back the lead. It wasn't like he stayed at 10 and everybody fell off. He was tied or behind and birdied a bunch of holes in a row.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he birdied 3 and then double bogeyed 4 and bogeyed 6 to give 3 shots back, and then he had 4 out of the next 7 holes were birdies. So
right,
he did it.
He made the shot too. Wow.
The one thing I'll bring up with Scheffler is, and I've mentioned this before, when you're playing with a clown, it hurts you. Like
Who
he
was
had
he
this
with?
Lee.
Who did he play with?
Lee. He shot like a 13 on one of the holes.
Yeah.
And they're like, Scheffler's been waiting like 10 minutes because Lee is like he hit 2 balls in the water, and like I don't like that. Like that's I mean, it is what it is. It happens.
I mean, Lee was
like,
7 on. He was fit. It's just
he was playing well.
He was right there until he blew up in those 2
he
holes.
just totally blew up, I think it hurt Scheffler a little bit on Sunday.
Yeah, you're standing around waiting to hit. I mean,
standing around waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the 1-2 was on the green, so he's sitting over. He was on the green while Lee's going back and forth in the water, in the bushes. So, all right,
Yep.
let's move on here, and we're gonna touch on the Phillies now. And I know they were just losing 2-0. I don't know if it's still 2-0 to the Braves.
it is. They left the bases loaded.
Oh, good, of course. So it's a early season key series. Obviously, not that big of a deal, but they don't look good. The Phillies are 8-10, and it's what we thought with hitting, so it's not that surprising. I mean, they are probably a little bit worse than I thought they're going to be. They're just kind of getting runs like 1 inning or 2 innings, and that's it. Although in baseball, that's kind of the trend. But their pitching has not been good. Their bullpen has not really been too good. I mean, they're getting walloped in some of these games. Their defense is a joke. Their base running has been bad. I mean, I can't think of one area that they've done well in. Not one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's early. It's 18 games of the season. We know all that. But we watch these games, and you're going to react to them. And they're right now they're not fun to watch. And I have a couple statistics here, but I'll go to you, Jason, and let you kind of ride them for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, I know, they're like 20th in runs. They're like 25th in pitching. And so nothing's working out. They're especially bad versus lefties. They're like the 3rd worst in baseball versus left-handers. Their approach is horrendous. Like, I can't stress enough how I don't understand how these guys, when a ball is pitched on the outside part of the plate and you try to pull the ball, you're going to roll over on the ball. You're going to pull it on the ground to the second baseman or to the shortstop, whether you're left or right-handed, because they're not going with the pitch. They're trying to pull everything. I don't know if these guys are capable of not doing that. I guess they are, because at some point during the season, they always start turning it around, but they're all trying to pull the ball now. Now, I'm going to mention guys who are on my shit list, and there's two guys in particular who I kind of blame this whole failure of the last couple seasons on because they're just never improving. So,
Can I guess?
yeah, I'm going to get to them.
So
I'll
I think I
start.
know him as well.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Luzardo because he's a mess right now, and I know I was touting him to win the Cy Young and all. He can't pitch with guys on base, whether he's tipping pitches, which I don't think he is. I think it's more of a problem where he can't pitch out of the stretch. His batting average against him with nobody on base is 220. When there's guys on base, it's 440 or 441, something like that. That's got to be fixed. And I know a lot of guys have that issue where, they need the wind up to be effective, but he's got to get better. I mean, we know he's got the stuff and he's got the talent. I mean, it's just Carol Collins got to fix him.
Can I give you a couple Luzardo stats real quick?
Sure.
Opponents are hitting 467 with an OPS over 1.3 when they swing first pitch. Fastball's getting smoked. Average against his four-seamer is 348, and against his sinker, it's 375. And then you mentioned runners on. With runners on, opponents are hitting 444 with an OPS over 1.2. In scoring position, they're hitting 500 with a slugging percentage of 1,000.
I mean,
part of Luzardo's problem is he's like he's kind of like the lineup right now. He strikes you out, or he walks, or you get a hit. Like the balls in play are hits. They're not outs.
He gets down 0-2. They're sitting on a fastball in the zone, and they're hitting it.
I did,
and
hear,
it hurts him later in the game because his pitch count by the fifth inning, he's already in 90 pitches.
I did hear a stat on him, and I don't have it. I just heard it that the velocity of the hits against them is not that high. So some of it is luck. Not all of it is luck, but some of it is, he's just having some bad luck too. But he's got to get better. Alvarado is a disaster. Like, you can't rely on him. Like,
no,
he's a mess. You can't rely on him.
They should just get rid of him, to be
They
honest.
should have never came back. They shouldn't have brought him back. So that's a mistake. Now I'm going to get to the two guys who I'm going to blame this whole era on of, being a disappointment. And the first I'll go to is Stott. He has not improved. He has not gotten better. I don't care how good he is in the field. He has not gotten better. He's got that, and I've mentioned it many times on this podcast. He's got that long uppercut swing. Like he's, 6'4" and 220 pounds and trying to hit home runs. He should be a line drive hitter. He should be hitting the ball on the ground and hitting line drives. That swing, if that swing is going to be that swing, then he's just not going to be the player that he needs to be, and he's got to go. The other guy is obviously, we all know, is Alec Bohm, is a disaster. He's just an outright disaster this year. I think he's mentally weak. I think he's got that stuff going on outside that's probably affecting him. But I mean, to me, like, another guy where, they put a lot on these guys and they keep bringing them back every year. And these two guys are just not improving. They're not becoming the players that they need to be for the Phillies to be successful. So let me see if I had something else on Bohm. No, I just said there's nowhere really to hide him in the lineup. Where are you going to put? I hear a lot of, obviously Thompson. And listen, it may come down to they have to fire Thompson to just light under everybody. But what is he supposed to do with this lineup? Like, where are you putting Alec Bohm in this lineup? He's an automatic out. So, like, Stott and Bohm are automatic out. So what is Thompson supposed to do with the lineup? Other than the top three guys, and Marsh has been playing well this year. JT's fine. Other than that, what's he supposed to do with the lineup?
Yeah, and I mean, I think Thompson's issues have nothing to do with the lineup. Now, you could blame him. We could get into it for some of the other stuff because he is the coach. But no, not the lineup. Now, the one thing though, and I think you hit it. I think Bohm's mentally weak and all this stuff is going on, and I think it affects them. But look, I blame the Dombrowski, I guess you want to say, more than anything, because Bone's been what he's been for years now. He's not a 4-hole hitter. He's like, we know that. This year, he's not a 7-8, like you said. I mean, he's not typically as bad as he's playing right now.
No.
But we've asked him to be a 4-hole hitter with a guy who has no power, who comes up in positions with guys on base, and he's not. That's not who he is. But regardless, I mean, that's his fault as well. But it's Dombrowski's fault for putting him in that situation. Stott now, we're going on what, the 4th year where he's exactly the same, and
Maybe
was,
worse.
like,
Maybe worse.
and I mean, we did nothing to you have Sosa, obviously you could platoon him, but Stott can't hit righties right now. We, who knows if there was ever trade opportunities that were turned down or it's just, and then Kemp, I know he doesn't play.
Wow.
He's not a major league player. So the
No.
platoon doesn't work when one of the guys isn't a major league player. So
Correct.
now you can't ask Marsh. He's not hitting lefties. He's just not going to hit lefties. He's hitting righties very well. Like elite, actually, right now. His OPS is over 800 against righties. But you need a viable person to platoon with them. And it's not Kemp. Like I mean, this whole construction is what we thought. They're built. They got built this way. Nobody's changed it. Turner's obviously worse than he was last year. He's notoriously a slow starter, so we'll see if his May picks up, etc. But he's terrible right now. Harper's actually playing well. Schwarber's doing what he does. I mean, he's kind of strikeout or home run or walk at this point, but still, he's doing what he has to. And like you said, JT Garcia has been fine. I mean, honestly, at this point, I calculate it, and there's fluff in these numbers because one game they scored 13, another game they scored 0. But last year they scored 3.94 runs per game at this point. This year they're at 4.21. Not drastically different, but their team ERA is over a point higher.
Yeah.
If you remember last year when they were winning early, they were winning, and I looked at the games, 3-2, 2-1, 1-0. There was 2 1-0 games in there. A 3-2 game, a 2-1 game in there. That's why the record was good last year to start. Their pitching was phenomenal. This year, it's terrible. There ain't one guy besides Sanchez who still hasn't really looked that sharp, but somehow his ERA is still only 2 because he finds a way. But Nola's what we thought. Walker is obviously a disaster.
Obviously
Luzardo's
missing
terrible.
Wheeler, but
Yeah, we're missing Wheeler, and that
Yeah.
could make up for a good portion of the ERA.
yeah.
And Painter's been fine. I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't start the one game because of migraines, but he's pitched well. And then their bullpen but the problem with the bullpen is Thompson's using guys because we're losing like by 5-6 runs. He's not even using like high leverage guys half the time because they're out of these games early.
Mhm.
And it's just something's got to change. Now I blame Thompson on the base running, and their team defense has gotten way worse than it was. Like, it looks like Turner went back to how he was prior to last year. He's awful again. The outfield's a mess. There's miscommunication. Their base running's been a disaster. I mean, like little league base running mistakes, running on fly balls on a hit and run, not looking back. It's just like it's tough to watch. Chalky.
Well, I was going to leave with base running because I think that was one of maybe the only thing you didn't criticize him for at the top of the segment, but you picked that up. I mean, they got the lead in Arizona on Sunday, and then Harper makes the first out at home plate, like running on contact. Like, you don't need to run on contact on 0 outs on third because you get a fly ball on the next time, like, and get that run. That run obviously ended up being critical because they lost by 1, and then. What night was that? It's a home run.
I mean, that was the same game Harper was thrown out at second by an entire baseball field by 90 feet.
Yeah. And what was the night that Marsh ran past second base and was that Sunday or was that one of the Cubs
That
games?
was not the same game.
Okay. So those are two big blunders, but well, at least Riley did something, I guess, that Riley. But
Where now? I can't see it.
6-0.
Oh
Riley,
my God.
I think it's Riley just hit a 3-run home run. Yeah. So, the pitching staff, you touched on some of the stuff there, but I mean, some of the numbers, this is before Luzardo's, the last game against the Cubs, but particularly Luzardo's start. Going into that game, they were second in the league in Ks per 9 innings, second fewest walks, second in Ks versus walks, 7th in home runs per 9, less than 1, 1st in ground ball rate, almost 50% ground ball rate, yet their ERA was 25th. So how does that happen? Well, it's a combination of their hard hits that get through, defense, and luck. And, some of the more advanced metrics has the staff rated pretty highly because they're saying, well, there should have been some outs and there should have been, that ground ball is going to get turned into a double play or whatever more often than not, and it didn't happen. But, they're struggling, and we kind of, you guys talked about it, so no matter what those stats say, they've had issues.
Chalky, let me stop
watch
you
the
there.
games.
I do have stats on defense. So I saw some on Twitter, I think it was, where it listed every player, the worst player in the league, defensive WAR by position. And I'm going to give you guys, there's 2 Phillies on that list for worst player at their position for defensive WAR. See if you guys could guess the 2.
Stott's got to be 1.
No.
No, I'm sorry. I screwed up.
No, it's
I meant-
probably
I meant Turner.
No,
No?
Really?
not Turner.
For defense? For defense only?
I'll give you guys one more guess each, and then I'll give it.
Bohm would
It's
be
only
the only other
including
one I would think
defense?
of.
Not their hitting aspect.
Defensive WAR. Defense.
I mean, I would have definitely thought it was Turner, so it's got to be somebody that's unexpected. I don't think it's Marsh.
Garcia?
No. Bryce Harper.
I was going to say Harper, but I don't
Worst
see it. but I
defensive
was gonna
first
say Harper.
baseman by WAR. And Justin Crawford. Worst defensive center fielder by WAR.
Are they just saying he's not getting to stuff?
Marsh
or-
is the best left fielder in baseball defensively by WAR. But he's
I
the
do
best.
think Crawford though, and I don't know. Is it because he's like not getting the balls, or is that what they're?
I guess. Whatever.
Because
it
like, there
meant-
was a play where him and Stott were coming kind of together, and he backed off, and Stott had to make
Yeah,
kind of
that can't happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
right. That's the center fielder's ball, but I think some of that is he's young and he's not aggressive enough, and
Yeah.
I give him a pass a little bit there. When you consider it. I mean, to your point though with Crawford, I know his numbers look good. I watch this guy play. I just don't see a guy that I've been waiting to come up as a prospect. Like
he's
he's a guy
struggling.
that if he's gonna be like your 6th best player in the line. Like you know what I mean? I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but like you were saying, he just hits too many grounders. They're like nothing's hit that terribly hard. I mean, you need guys like that, but he's not this prospect that we
Right.
once thought.
If Johan Rojas did that, you'd be like, oh,
Well,
It's-
right, yeah, and I think that's why is because of the
Right.
expectation versus the
Right,
reality.
right.
So
Yeah.
one more thing on Bohm. This is from Salisbury. Said this. He's missing a ton of fastballs. That shows me that maybe the focus is not there. Maybe it's attributed to the difficult personal situation. If there's any solace, last year at this point, he was hitting about 150 through 16 or 17 games. He hit 308 the rest of the way. Maybe he can turn around like he did last year. But obviously, there's a lot of people picking up on he's missing pitches that he should be able to hit, fastballs. So mental or he's just broke. I don't know. But yeah, he's clearly one of the big, if not the biggest issue on the team.
So there's 189 hitters in baseball right now. Out of 189, Bohm is 184 in OPS. And Stott is 175.
Yeah, there's 2 of your 9 hitters.
How are you winning if you have 2 automatic outs in your lineup? I mean,
And Bohm's a guy too that, like Jason said, mentally, you move him in the lineup. He's not a guy that's gonna like dig in and be like, all right, I got moved. Now it's time. He'll
Yeah.
just wither,
Yeah.
even further down. Like that's the type of guy he is. And
Mhm.
I mean, I don't. Obviously, the hope is they're just playing poorly right now, and they're going to turn around. And then we've seen this before. Last year they started strong, and they really finished kind of terribly for most of the year. And limped into the playoffs, but still won 90 whatever 5 games, whatever it was, 96 games. A couple of the other years was vice versa, where they started poorly. They fired Girardi the one year.
I
and
think
they
you
go to the
need a
World Series.
spark. I don't know what the spark is, whether you make a move with a guy, you bring somebody up.
Oh,
What happened?
Crawford just got hit on the elbow.
You all right?
The only problem with firing Thompson for me is, and like you said, you fire him because you think it's gonna be what you're not gonna get rid of all 9 guys. Like there's not much you can do.
No.
They did this before, right? With the same group, with the same core. Does it work again,
Ribs.
or is it just like was that a one-time
See,
thing
I
that
wouldn't do
worked?
that. I would go to a guy, whether it's Kemp or I don't know who else you could kind of get out of the lineup, or call somebody up to replace Kemp, or do something with Stott. Miller, that's another thing. I know we got to move on, but Miller isn't even swinging a bat yet. So
No.
No,
that's
this is
a
a lost
disaster.
year. Yeah.
Yep.
Complete loss of a year for
He
Miller.
would have been up.
Or he'd be waiting in the wings to replace one of those 2 guys
Yeah, I
by
think
the
he'd
end of the
be up
season.
I think he'd be up and platooning with Stott at this point.
But I mean, it is early. Mets are on a 9-game losing streak. I mean, you go around the league.
Mets are done.
Yeah. I mean, look, I said this on one of the earlier episodes. Like, if you get through the first month of the season at 500, like, I'm really not going to complain. You don't want to get in too big of a hole. Most of the teams right now are 8-10, 10-8 in that range. You got Dodgers at the top, and obviously Braves are playing well, and Padres just don't get 10 games under 500.
And it's not so much it's not the record. I mean, there are people out there that I guess are talking about being under for whatever, but we watch the games. It's how they're playing, how they're losing, you're losing 6-0 in the second inning.
It's not even a competitive game. It's what is it?
They're not competitive. I mean, they've
No.
played in more non-competitive games than competitive games this year. I mean, that shouldn't happen. That's the problem with this team right now. I mean, we're going to end this show, and I'm not even going to put the game on. It's going to be a blowout. It's it's not fun. All right, let's get away from that disaster and move to the next disaster in the Philadelphia 76ers. As they limp into the playoffs, not much talk this year on Sixers. They limped into the playoffs, win their playing game against the Magic, who might have been more of a disaster than they were. Talking about guys aren't even going to play if the coach is back. And so obviously they should have won that game. But with the Sixers, at least you got a healthy Embiid. Oh, wait, never mind. He had a fluke appendix this time, and he's missing the start of the series. And I mean, chances are he doesn't play at all if it's a quick exit. I don't know, Chalky or Jason, you guys might know more than that. But now they face Boston, and I mean, you guys could talk about it. They have what's less than 0% chance to win this series. That's their odds. Jason?
Yeah, I'll start with Embiid. Like, and we mentioned this before, but it reminds me so much of Lindros. Like, we lived this 25, 30 years ago with Lindros. Like, unbelievable talent. And just with these fluke injuries, and like, he just can't stay healthy. But when he's healthy, he's one of the best talents you've ever seen. Like, reminds me so much of Lindros. But I hear different things. Like, if he had a 2-week window, that would probably, I mean, they don't start until Sunday. So if it was truly 2 weeks, he could probably be back for either game 2 or 3, I would think. But then you hear he's not going back at all. I heard somebody say. I don't know what to believe. I think he'll try to play. I think they'll try to bring him back. I don't know what shape he'll be in. I mean, they're playing the Celtics. They played them well during the year, but Embiid only played part of one game and didn't play the other 3 games. Tatum didn't play in any of the games, so they were 2-2 in those games. Obviously, it's different now. Tatum's back. I would have much rather have seen them play the Pistons than the Celtics. But it just falls that they're getting the Celtics. I can't see them winning the series. If Embiid was healthy, again, it's a humongous if, then maybe they would, I don't know, maybe give him.
I mean, if Embiid's healthy, I think you think you at least see competitive games, and they'll maybe win 1 or 2. But
I still think they're not going to get swept. I think they'll when George is playing and playing well, like, he played well the other night. When he's playing well, they got a shot. Obviously, without Embiid, I can't see him doing much, but I think Embiid's going to try and play. I'd like to see him play game 2. I don't know if that'll happen, but they're not winning either way. They're not winning the series, but it kind of like this was the worst matchup they could have gotten because I think Boston's probably going to win the East.
Yeah, to your point, they play Sunday, Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. So
Yeah,
there's
I think
spacing.
by
in
game
the
3
games.
he'll definitely be back. That's my
Yeah.
prediction.
So, I mean, the one thing, the problem is Boston. They're a high volume 3-point team, and the Sixers do not guard the perimeter all that well. So I mean, you can go through it. Chalky, what do you think?
I think it's 5 for the Celtics, probably. I mean, yeah, if you're down 0-2, you could say you rush and beat back. But I honestly don't know at this point what the ramifications are or the ability. Like, is it pain? Can he make things worse? Can he rupture something? I don't know what it is for him as far as like liability versus just physical ability to play. Like Jason said, they split the season series. Tatum did not play in any of those games. And Celtics, I mean, Missoula's done a great job as a great coaching job this year before Tatum even came back. So I think Boston's the best team in the East as well. So I would have easily rather seen Detroit, New York, or Cleveland, for that matter, than Boston with or without Embiid in the first round. And it's funny, like, you mentioned their perimeter defense, which the Celtics do shoot a lot of threes. They actually have maybe their best defensive overall team against 7-1. In the recent series they play against the Celtics, if you would have had Embiid, George, Edgecombe, and Oubre getting a lot of minutes, but it's not going to make a difference. Like I said, it'll be 5 probably. Maxey might go off in a game and put 45 in, and they get one, but I can't see this going too long.
Who hit that home run?
Dominic Smith.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll have a show. Yeah, the Derby's not the final, so we'll probably have some Sixers content for next week. So we'll see where they're at that point. But
Now, if it's not going to happen, if the Sixers and Flyers both go 7 games,
I saw it.
Game 7 of both those Game 7s would be on Derby Day, so you'd have the Derby and 2 Game 7s. It would not. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But
so if you're coming here, you'll be watching Derby.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's
and now we're
no. I
guys.
mean, the Flyers, maybe. The Sixers, no shot. No shot to go to pushing the. Hey, I mean, I shouldn't say no shot, but seems.
I
like
mean, look, if
least,
Tatum re-tears his Achilles in Game 1, maybe they can get to 7. I don't know.
I mean, at least you're getting some playoff experience to Edgecombe. I mean, at
he's
the point,
a player, by the way. He's really good player. He's only going to get better, that kid. He's a very good player.
What the Sixers need to do is try to get rid of Embiid. And not for anything. Obviously, you're paying his salary, whatever you got to do, because it's to a point where like you just need him off the team, and you need to start with what you got. Like you need to tell Maxey, and that's like they need to not have to deal with Embiid anymore. It's just the era is done. He's never going to be healthy. You're never going to win with him as a player on your team. It's time to just move on and start fresh, whatever that looks like. But I mean, nobody probably wants him, and even if you pick up his salary, I don't know. I mean, how easy it is going to be to get rid of him. So, but it does look like, I don't know, Nick Nurse this might be his last 4 or 5 games, possibly.
Is it really his fault though?
I mean, some of the games he's not like done. But yeah, I mean, I know sometimes.
The guy won a championship. Like, did he forget how to coach? It's just,
it's a bad situation. Guys are in and out of lineup.
Yeah, come on.
All right, let's. We got about 20 minutes. We try to keep it under the hour. Let's move on, and we'll talk Flyers hockey. All right, our special guest has joined us. For you YouTube people, which is probably only on YouTube, you'll see in one of the corners here, we got Ben Brucker. has joined us. So welcome, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Fired up.
Oh, this is Ben
Yeah,
Brucker
so
from our football league. I didn't know it was Ben Brucker from our.
Oh yeah, he does the Picks League. That's right. I forgot
Gotcha.
about that.
Okay.
I forgot a couple weeks. It cost me big time, but
He's
remember.
second in not putting picks in behind Chalky in the Picks League.
That was good in the Picks League this year. Golf Picks League, not so much, but
Didn't
So a
get
little
time for
background.
being
We'll
doing
give you a minute here, Ben. Ben played hockey throughout his life. Had a little stint in Ottawa. Surprisingly, did a few years in Ottawa. So probably our first international guest. And then played some high school and then played at Clemson. Yeah, some college hockey. So Ben, you could take it wherever you want with that.
Yeah, I've been skating and playing hockey since I was like 2.5, 3 years old. Started up in Ottawa. Brother just started playing, so figured I would join. So I will say my first game was an Ottawa Senators game, so they might be my number one team. But in the last 10 plus years, we've been living in Philadelphia area and had season tickets. So I pretty much will cheer for the Flyers over everyone except the Sens.
So how far north in Ottawa? Because I know Giroux's from like way up north in Ottawa.
We live like right by the Capitol building. I lived there, like I said, when I was like 3 to like 5. So
that's more southern,
Yeah.
part, I guess.
Yeah. But I was born and raised pretty much Delaware, Pennsylvania area. So
Yeah, so Ben is, he always says Sens are his number one team, Flyers his number two team. But you do have, the season tickets. I mean, you've been in 10, 15 games this year, so you see the Flyers live. Big Flyers fan. Have a little connection to Jet Lachenko, if I'm not if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, one of my good buddies is his cousin, but I don't know if he's sniffing the lineup anytime soon.
Nah, it's
All the young
but so definitely a hockey connection. That's why you're now our hockey guy. And I promised Ben, I said if Flyers ever make the playoffs, we're gonna have you on the podcast.
Yeah, you didn't see it coming this quick.
About a month ago, it looked like you were never going to join the podcast, and then all of a sudden, Flyers kind of erupted, and here we are. And that brings us to Flyers Pittsburgh. I mean, you can't ask for a team that has been in the playoffs since, well, I guess the bubble, in whatever that was, 22, 21. But really, 18 was the last time they even had a home playoff game. So it was a good drought, and like Jason, we were talking off air, kind of irrelevant since 2010, and that was a fluke year. And before that, 2004, 5, 6, whatever it was.
The primo playoff year, 2004.
yeah.
That's the last relevant year.
So Flyers Pittsburgh, I mean, you got Sixers Boston, Flyers Pittsburgh. So Flyers Pittsburgh is a great way to kind of welcome them back into the playoffs. And I was looking real quick before, the Flyers are plus 2,200 to win the East, which is the worst odds in the whole Eastern Conference. And they're not even a wild card team. They actually won, or whatever you call it, made their division. And they're a plus 140 in the series against Pittsburgh. So as always, we always go to Jason first, although we do have a guest. We'll go to Jason first and let him kind of breeze through some of his Flyers thoughts here as they start tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
8 p.m. tomorrow. So I think the Flyers wingers are really strong, right? I think this kid Martone, he just has instincts. He's got you can tell his offensive instincts are just really, really star level. I know they compare him to like a Corey Perry type. I could say it. I mean, I think he's a power forward. I think the sky's the limit for this kid. I think he could be a star. I think they hit on him. I think Forster's really good. I think he's a sniper. I think he's a nice winger. I think he's a first line winger. So again, I think you're strong on the wing. My issue with the Flyers, I've said many times, maybe all fair because we don't talk that much Flyers on here. It's like the center position. You're never going to get a number one center unless you're drafting top 3 or top 5. Now, yeah, they did it and they got Patrick, but that was a bad luck thing. He got the concussion issues and stuff, but you can't get a number one center and you can't get a number one defenseman. I know Sanheim's a good player. I don't consider him a number one. I think on a contender, he would be a second line, a second pairing guy, kind of like a Chemo Timonen type guy was back, when they were relevant, like I said. And to me, they just don't rebuild the right way. They held on to Giroux too long. They held on to Lawton too long. They held on to Couturier too long. He should have been gone by now. They should have been trading these guys just like Colorado did years ago. Colorado kind of tore it all down. And, they were really bad for a couple of years, and then they won a cup, and now they're relevant every year. They're a contender every year. The Flyers they choose not to do that. And to me, like, if you look at the centers on this team, Zegras is a nice player. He's a skilled player. But to me, like, on a contender, he's a second-line center. Dvorak should be your third-line center, and then Cates is a nice fourth-line guy. You don't have that top-line center. You don't have the 25-minute defenseman that they should have. And listen, it's nice that they got in the playoffs. Maybe they could give the Penguins a series. I think, listen, I'll say about this series, the Flyers are better defensively than the Penguins. The Penguins are a high-scoring team. A lot of times in the playoffs, defense kind of, wins. So, maybe they have a shot to upset the Penguins. I'm not sure. But overall, I just don't, I don't see them being a true contender until they somehow get a top line center and a top line, a number one defenseman. And I don't know how they're getting it when they draft 15th every year.
Yeah, all right, Chalky, I'll go to you before we bring Ben in to kind of carry the conversation on the Flyers Penguins. What's your quick thoughts on the Flyers?
Yeah, I mean, Jason mentioned the Penguins being a high-scoring team. I mean, it's not the Penguins that we remember in the sense of some of the names are the same. Crosby's still there, Malkin, Letang, I think, is still around. Rust was around. But Crosby and Malkin aren't 80, 90, 100-point players anymore. So there's a more wide distribution when you look at their statistics throughout the year. I mean, Erik Karlsson, you talk about former Senators, somehow made his way over there to be second in points on the team. So, but that's not unlike the Flyers in that, the Flyers don't have a 30-goal scorer. They don't have a lot of, I don't think they have anybody over, is 60-something there, the team leader in points, I think. I was looking earlier.
Didn't Zegras or Konechny lead the team?
I think it's
Konechny, yeah, but I don't know that Konechny got to 70 overall.
No, I think it was just 60.
68.
Yeah, so he was at 68. Zegras is 67. He got a bunch of guys, so they need to live on the defense. And hockey is one of those sports where a single player can almost lift the team up. And if you get the goalie that gets hot, and Vladar's, I think Wayne Gretzky said either if he has one or if he had one, he'd give him a Hart Trophy vote for his play this year. It's kind of been a tale of two seasons. They started out pretty well, October, November. They were awful December, January, and February up until the Olympic break. And then they came back and finished the year strong. So they have some momentum. And, these aren't the Penguins of years ago. I can't say that they're going to win the series, but they could give them a series, 6-7 games, maybe even steal it. But yeah, this is not, I mean, personally, I don't see this as like an excitement of what's to come with this team. It's kind of like, it's okay, they're in there, it'll be interesting, but there's still a lot to be desired, to what Jason was saying.
Yeah, I mean, one thing with the Flyers is they have the worst power play in the league, which is, I mean, if this team goes far in the playoffs, you could do a 30-30 on how.
But you know what, though, if Martone will make
far.
it better. Martone,
yeah, and he already has. I mean, you can already see it. Yeah. But regardless, one thing I saw, does Vladar not have a shutout this year?
Yeah,
it's possible.
He may not.
I don't think he does. But he's had at least 31 or 32 games with 2 goals or less.
Yeah.
Which is insane. I mean, looking back, and if you watch that Carolina game, that second period, they were outplayed. I mean, Carolina had the puck. Vladar is the only reason that score stayed 2-0 for a while, and then they were able to obviously claw back in. And like Chalky said, and we can go through, I mean, we're a lot older than you. We can go through the teams that have advanced far in the playoffs because goaltending, lack of a better hockey term, have stood on their head. Jaguar, I'm trying to think back at like some of those goalies that.
I mean, Jaguar is the classic one from the last 20 years. He won the Conn Smythe for,
The Devils with Brodeur, Hasek carried these goalies are the ones that. So, I mean, Vladar's never done it before, which is kind of scary. I mean, he had a great regular season. You don't know how he's gonna react in the playoffs.
But then you could say the 2010 Flyers had clowns in that.
Yeah,
Basically, and
Yeah, but I mean, with the until the final, I mean, Leighton was. I mean, they got guys getting hurt left and right. Boucher plays all right, gets hurt. Leighton comes in, does all right until the Blackhawks. That's because you had Pronger play in front of you too. But the Flyers actually had no shutouts this year for many of their goalies.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say I didn't think so, which is an insane statistic for his goals against to be so low. But all right, Ben, we'll turn it over to you. What you tell us? I mean, I actually think the Flyers are going to win this series. I can't give you all the statistical reason. I think they're going to win the series. I don't think they're going to do much after that, but I do think they're going to win this. Ben, we're going to give it to you. We're going to let you tell us what you think on the Flyers, and then we'll maybe feed off some questions to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that's been said is kind of true. It's kind of obvious. I mean, when I look at the lineup, I don't think you can tell which line's the first line and which line's the second line. I would take Konechny, Dvorak, and Martone the same amount I would Forrester, Zegers, Tippett. I mean, I'm just in the same boat. We talked about how good, I think we have better goaltending for sure. And defensively, we say we have a better defense. I think that's just because the matchup we have. I mean, I think Pittsburgh is probably one of the only teams, probably the only team on the East Coast that I think the Flyers can compete with in a series. I'm on the wagon that the Flyers defense to me is scary. I think the only top tier defenseman we have is Sanheim, and like Jason said, I don't really see him. He's not the number one defenseman on majority of teams in the NHL, let alone number two on a lot. And I just don't see this team doing much other than maybe competing with Pittsburgh, just because they've kind of done it all year, where stats line up against them, nothing looks good, and they somehow find a way to grit it out. But I'm on the same boat here with everyone else. I think if we somehow squeak by the Pens, that whoever you're running into, I think you're in trouble.
Could be your boys, right? Ottawa.
Yeah, it could be. It's the winner of Ottawa and Hurricanes. I mean, I don't think they compete with Ottawa a whole lot, but I think they get killed by the Hurricanes. I mean, like Tom was saying, in that second period when we just played them, they were dominating us, and they didn't have their best players.
No, they had the NHL team.
Six.
Yeah.
Six. Their top six guys.
The top six players were all out.
Brendan Moore was begging for them to get to the playoffs, and it still was, tough.
So Ben, when you say defense, and obviously you mean your defensemen, and we watch the games, you can see they have lapses. What's the biggest reason? Is it just the skill set of defensemen? Is it their forwards are not also coming back in defense?
I think that's the only.
They have breakdowns. They have bad breakdowns, bad giveaways.
They get caught in the zone a good bit. I think a lot of that's due to size. They're a pretty small team. I think the only reason their defense has decent numbers with shots against per game and everything is because of the Tocchet system. I think they kind of keep everything to the perimeter in the zone, which is probably the reason for the lack of offensive production. They're a pretty defensively based team. And then when you look at the pairings, again, Sanheim can compete in any level of hockey. I think he played in the Olympics. I think he's fine. Risto he's slow, but played high level hockey at least. And then I think, that bottom four, Cam York, I think, going to be a complete liability. Having him and Drysdale on the same line, I don't think either of them are 6 foot, maybe not even 5'11". And in playoff hockey, it's just a different game, especially when they're gonna go up against the Pens, who have some size. And then, Sealer can play physical, but Andre is just, another just tiny defenseman. I think York, Drysdale, and Andre, you just don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Just because of size. Drysdale's been super confident the last, since the Olympic break, he's looked great, but he's pretty injury prone, and the playoffs is just a whole different level of hockey.
Now that you brought up Drysdale, I have to mention the Cutter Gauthier thing, because there's another kid who they hit on in the draft. The kid is talented. He's a sniper. And he's a guy, but because they hired Tortorella for a team that was not ready to win, the only reason you bring John Tortorella in to coach your team is if you're ready to win. He's not good with a young team that's going to be losing, that's got your Mishkovs and guys like that. You're trying to, He doesn't have the patience for these guys. And then I guess it was Kevin Hayes that maybe got in Gautier's ear and kind of, because Hayes and Tortorella did not get along. And I think Hayes kind of poisoned Gautier, as far as his mind for playing for Tortorella. And Gautier didn't not want to play for Philadelphia. All the fans get all up in arms because he wanted, he didn't want to play for Tortorella. And guess what? They missed out on a kid that's probably going to be a superstar. They got
he's
Drysdale
40
for
goal
him.
scorer.
He's
Or
already had
39.
41 goals this year.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid's going to be a superstar. They got Drysdale for him because they had to move him. Drysdale's an okay player, like Ben said, but he's no Claire Gauthier.
Now, Ben, if you have to pay, you watch all sports and you always get those guys, and they could be superstars or they could be just those like no name unsung heroes. And if the Flyers were to beat Pittsburgh in the series, one, how do you think they win? And two, who do you see as the guy that maybe makes the difference and steps up, either by laying the hit, like getting in there and being physical and setting the tone, or whether it's goal scoring, etc. What do you see there? Or how do they win? And then
it's hard to do in playoff hockey. They kind of have to lull people into their play style. That's how they've been since the Olympic break. They kind of, bear down defensively. Like you said, they'll get pinned in the zone for minutes and then somehow, high and hard off the glass, and they'll find a way to get a bounce. I think the fourth line is not – I don't think they're going to be a problem just because they're just going to play how they always do. Couturier's been playing a lot better, a lot more physical lately. Hathaway and Glendening are just, that's all they can do. So I don't think they'll have a problem. I think you need production from – your big guns are on this team, probably Konechny and Tippett. Tippett's shown times where he looks like McKinnon and times where he's a third liner. So – I think if you want to have any chance, you need those guys scoring. I don't think you can rely on, their Mishkovs and Barkeys to find scrappy goals. Mishkov's hot lately, but I think you need. It's like playoff. You need everyone's got to do their part, but when you're on the top two lines, you can just one.
Do you think there's any chance that Toronto would want to move Matthews, and then the Flyers could make I don't know what they could offer up for him, but. That's a way to get a number one center.
That's a problem with Zegers he's just like a skill guy. Obviously shootouts, power play. When he's got room with the puck, he's fine. But he's not going to compete with Sidney Crosby. He's not good enough defensively. So you would need a Matthews type of player there. I don't know. The Flyers have struggled to get any big free agents lately. I don't know why. Their name just gets tossed around and then kind of quickly shut out. It happened with Quinn Hughes and a couple other guys. So
yeah, that would have been.
I don't know why the market sells it big. Maybe if they make at least win a series here and the stadium's rocking and everything, maybe they'll have a little more sell. But
yeah. Well, the one big name free agent in retrospect they could have had, although would have worked out well in the end, would have been Gaudreau. He wanted to come here and they just weren't interested. And timing might not have been right as far as where the team was, but he didn't want to go to Columbus. Come on.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
They were really in the toilet back then. So bringing him here just wouldn't have made sense.
It wouldn't have fit. But but again, if he wasn't a South Jersey kid, is he going to want to come play for the Flyers? No. I actually saw. I'm trying to find it here. I saw a proposed Matthews trade with the Flyers earlier today.
I'd be giving it for sure. And then I don't know who else.
Who did you say?
Yeah.
Tippett wasn't on there. It was Bonk. A first round pick and one or two other the young guys. I can't find out. But then I don't honestly. The most of Matthews I watched all year was the Olympics. I see people saying he's fried already. So I don't know. I wouldn't go too high on a price, I guess. But I'm not watching Toronto that much.
What are you hearing about Bonk, Ben? Is he I
don't know much about him. To be perfectly honest, he's popped in and out and looked decent, but. I haven't heard.
He was a first-round pick. You would hope that they hit on him. And he was later in the first round.
Same with Jet. Jet was pretty much,
Yeah, I heard even when they drafted him that was kind of a reach. drafted him that high? Was that?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was thinking about going in the 20s, I think, but like late teens, early 20s. But
Yeah,
I mean, he had a really good year that year. So
yeah.
I mean,
What,
even when he played this year, he was, I think, the youngest player in the NHL. So it is hard. I mean, you can't.
like, what is his projection? Like, what would you see him as, like a third line center, or like, does he have the talent to play in the second line, or what do you think as far as like?
I mean, I think he's only shown enough that probably. I don't think you can make an argument for a top 2 line yet.
So bottom 6 forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think his ceiling's probably, a second line player. I think he could play second line center. When he's out there, like his speed is there. He like sticks out on the NHL ice, which is impossible to do. I mean, really on the Flyers, it's just like him and Tippett that you can tell are just faster than
Right.
most of the guys out there. So his speed's there. I think some of it's just that he's young. He didn't shoot the puck at all. So I think it's honestly that's why it's so hard to trade someone like that or give up. You don't know. I think his ceiling is high, but you just don't know. He just hasn't.
I mean,
he's too young.
one thing I think this playoffs at least can do is, I mean, and Jason, you alluded to it, and I think Ben, you said, and Chalky, like they weren't able. They're not getting free agents. People don't really seem interested, and they were just irrelevant. They were poorly run. I mean, we've talked about Comcast kind of ran them into the toilet. They were kind of forgotten. The players don't even remember when the whatever Wells Fargo, whatever the hell Xfinity Mobile was rocking. Like these playoffs, like they're so far removed from those eras that maybe this playoffs, if they could beat Pittsburgh, make a decent run and you start to bring back that energy, maybe it shows the league like Philadelphia is the town that supports a hockey team when there's a reason to, and Briere and Jones kind of turning that around a little bit with how it's being run. It's not that corporate run anymore. And they did it because they're starting to lose money. I mean, they're not making as much money because like the Flyers, the one thing they always said is, it don't matter. They always sell out that building. Well, they stopped selling it out for a while.
I bought tickets for the playoffs. Like they sent me an email. There was, tickets available for the playoffs. I mean, when do you ever see that in Philadelphia?
Yeah. So hopefully that, at the very least could bring a little bit of that to get guys around the league maybe to start coming back to Philadelphia.
Which I agree with. I think the problem right now is I think still most people around the league, again, I don't think that the Penguins series is, I think it's a bit of a toss-up. I think they're bottom of the league in like 90% of the statistics. I mean, to string together another year next year, you most likely not making the playoffs if you have these sort of numbers next year. I think it's hard to do that 2 years in a row.
Yeah. I mean, Chalky said it. It's not like, I mean, a lot of times you had the 2007 Phillies, right? You make the playoffs. You don't think they're going to go anywhere, but you had the core of guys that like, we're about to make a run. You made the playoffs as the Flyers. You don't look at this team saying, oh, these are the guys we're going to make our run now with. It's just like, we just happen to make the playoffs and next year we still got to rebuild to try to get better.
I mean, I know Jason labeled everything after 2004 as irrelevant, but if you remember, so lockout, they come back. Forsberg Hatcher make the playoffs. 2007 was a complete disaster, but then you go into 2008 and you had Richards, Carter.
You had the kids coming up.
Sharp, or they didn't. No, I'm sorry, they traded Sharp by then. But you had all those kids coming up who it's like, okay, like when you traded Forsberg for Timonen and Hartnell and who's the guy they got from Atlanta that was actually had to Coburn. Like they're young kids, and so you watch, and then they got to the finals. But like that, it was a year I was like, okay, you got young talent. Let's see what they can do. I mean, look, Michkov, Martone, they all have talent. Those guys have talent. There are some decent players, but like I don't have the sense that we're on the cusp of another 10-year playoff run like we were in 2007 coming out of that year. If anything, I think it's going to be like what we've seen over the last decade, which is every other year and then 3 or 4 years out of the playoffs. Like it's not consistency.
I did want to ask Ben what his thoughts on Michkov are.
I mean, earlier this year, I would have said he's, obviously terrible. He's super slow.
He came in out of shape, right? Like,
yeah, he was super out of shape. I mean, it was obvious. I mean, the problem with Michkov is he's I mean, obviously offensive minded. Not many players in the NHL leave the zone before the puck's gone. Michkov does every time. It's common theme with the Russians, I think. I mean, with Ovechkin and Malkin back in the day. I mean, lately he's looked awesome. I think he's one of those guys, like, if he's producing, it's kind of worth it. I mean, I think we saw that last year, and obviously we've seen moments of it this year, but he has to be producing. And I mean, I think you kind of have to have someone strong defensively to make up for him, because he doesn't have the legs to get back, and he's just not defensive minded.
Yeah, I was gonna say is he good enough offensively
Correct.
to make, like, the Malkin and Ovechkin, you dealt with it because of what they could do on the offensive side.
They
Is
make up for it.
Michkov going to
think
get to that level?
Yeah, I think the question is, like, he's obviously got the hands and he's got the skill. Is he fast enough? Because he's a small guy, right?
He's
When you're that small, you need to be fast, right? Unless you're like Phil Kessel, who was like small, he's slow, but he had so much skill and talent, he can
and he
make
played
up
with
for
good
it.
players.
Right. Now, is Mishkov like quick enough? Does he seem like he's got like the legs to
He
or is
kind of he kind of slows down the game. I mean, he's good at that. He does those slow like curls at the top of the zone when he gets
like
in the zone.
Gretzky used to do?
Yeah,
I mean, Yager too.
people
Yager,
out.
especially towards the end, he was the guy with the puck hit his stick. The game
He was
slowed
just
down
so
around
big
him.
and strong, though. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he was big and strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Michkov, I think, plays a little like stronger than his size is. I mean, he's
Okay.
not really like laying body checks or anything like that, but he protects the puck pretty well. And honestly, the guy that's been kind of saving them is Noah Cates. I mean,
He's a nice player.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
throwing him around, and I don't think in winning the Selke, but in at least conversation of having like some talk about him. He's got like one of the highest plus minuses in the league.
He's a nice player. Yeah.
Had a good amount of points. I think he's in the 40s in points.
Got 18 goals.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the hard part is, I mean, Denver Barkey's played really well too, that line. So Barkey, Cates, and Michkov. I don't hate it, but again, it's hard to have a third line with that size. And, in his 7 games, who's eaten
Third
up.
line's usually your checking line. So,
Third and fourth line have to get able to hit.
yeah, I don't know if Mishkov's, good enough, to do that on that line. Mishkov reminds me more of a top 6 forward than a forward that's going to be on a checking line. But I guess if it works, it works. I mean, if Cates is saving him, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, one good thing with me, and then we'll wrap up with Michkov, is he was coached kind of hard, right, with Tocchet. There's a lot of people talking, and to his credit, it seemed like some of it got through to him, right? I mean, even here in his post-game interviews, it's through interpreters and all, but there was one the other where they asked him a question, and he said it was about Tocchet, what he said, and he said that's something like, "Oh, that's private between Tocchet, us, and the coach and the team. I'm not even going to talk about it." Like he looked like he took what he was trying to tell him. He's getting more mature, so I give him credit for that, because I thought he could kind of go the other way with the hard coaching. So,
you gotta be careful with, not so much as maybe back in the day, but like some of the European players, especially the Russians, if you don't coach them the right way, they shut down. Who's the guy? It was on Tampa Bay, and then I think he had to go to Montreal.
Kovalchuk.
No, was it? I'm drawing a blank on his name now, but
Well,
he was
no,
like he was a high pick, but they ended up trading him pretty quickly because he wasn't coachable, I think.
He went out with Kovalchuk, right? Wasn't it Kovalchuk?
No. This is much more recent.
the Flyers had him, I think, didn't they? Didn't the Flyers end up getting him toward the end?
Kovalchuk never was here.
They had all those guys, Zhitnik, all those guys like at the end of their careers that were coming in.
Towards the end there.
Ilya Kovalchuk, no, he never came. Ilya didn't come here. He went. He jumped around the Kings, Devils.
They got one of those Russians towards the end of their career.
Yeah, that was
Zhitnik, I definitely remember. And then
he was the guy. Yeah, it was with a K. It was a couple.
It was with a K. Yeah. Well,
Vancouver. He was Vancouver.
might even play for the Thrashers at one time.
yeah, who's the guy who was on Pittsburgh too? I can't think of it. It
I
was like
don't
it
know.
was like 2005,
Kovalev?
2006.
You took-
Kovalev.
Kovalev.
It's something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, that's why I thought it was good.
Well, he was never.
All right, so Ben, we'll put you on the spot here. So one thing with the pod, if you make a prediction, if you're right, we'll give you credit. If you're wrong, we usually just don't talk about it again, unless it's chalky. We make sure we bring it up.
Yeah, we
anyway.
bring Chalky up when he's wrong.
But other than that, we usually just ignore it. I mean, then nobody knows the difference. So, who the Flyers Pittsburgh? Who wins the series?
I honestly think Pittsburgh probably takes it in 7, to be honest.
All right.
I don't
And
see
then-
the Flyers going to Pittsburgh with this young of a team. And
Look, you go to 7. I mean, obviously you want to win, but like
I can see that. I can see it being a long series and they just don't win the series. I can see that. Yeah.
I was listening. I heard a clip too where Crosby, he flicked the glove of Voracek, and then if you do the post game, he's like, I just don't like him. I don't like him.
I
don't like
remember that.
anybody I don't like
Listen.
anybody on the team. It's
Listen,
just,
Crosby's
fun.
actually not a bad guy.
yeah.
he's
not a big
probably
guy.
the best guy like to ever play. Like from a hockey standpoint, he's like a total role model now. He's like
He's
changed a lot.
a good guy.
We
Now
even
he's
talked
not
about it too. You never heard anything about him off the
No,
ice.
he's a good guy, Crosby.
Yeah.
He really is.
And then it's out there that your Sens are your team. Do you think the Sens win their series?
probably not. No, I think the Hurricanes they're going to make a run this year. I mean, they year after year they're winning rounds. They haven't obviously made it to the final and definitely haven't won, but honestly, probably one of the worst matchups the Senators could have run into. I think they're like the only team on the East Coast that maybe like better 5-on-5 than the Senators. So
I mean, it is good to see though teams like Ottawa, Buffalo, Flyers, like the
Buffalo's a team that just lost year after year, but they started getting these young
Yeah,
players.
so
And now all of a sudden,
It's good to see them in. I saw a statistic that the Devils, Islanders, and Rangers, the first time ever, all 3 of them missed the playoffs, which
yeah,
is crazy.
I would have rather
Um,
picked Buffalo than the Hurricanes, I think.
And then lastly, we put you on the spot. So the West, obviously, nobody really follows the West as much. It's tough to ever watch and all. But give us your Stanley Cup. Who's playing each other in the Stanley Cup, and who do you have winning it all? Sounds like you tipped your hand a little bit, but go ahead.
I'd like to say the Hurricanes make it, but they always find a way to lose.
yeah.
I honestly think it's going to be the winner of, I think, the Lightning and the Canadians. Winner of them makes the cup. Or I think they play each other first round, but I don't know. They just both feel like, I think the Lightning might be the best built like playoff team on the East Coast. They have like the high end talent. They have.
Hedman's hurt though, right? Is Hedman playing?
I don't know if he's playing that. I think it's Daniel Radish has like stepped up a ton this year. He's like career high goals.
Yeah.
And then on the West, is Colorado just much better? Does Edmonton make their traditional McDavid run?
The West is tough because I think the only team. There's a couple of teams you can just, I don't think have any chance off the bat between like the Kings and Mammoths. I don't think they. The Knights, I think, are on fire lately. They hired Torts. Somehow they're the true competitor again, but you obviously have Wild Stars, which should not be playing each other first round. But
Yeah.
it's an insane matchup. I just don't think you can really bet against the Avs this year. They're a substantial favorite to win the cup, so
Yeah.
I could see a lot of teams giving them a run, but I don't think.
I agree. I think they're tough.
One thing with hockey, we always say, unlike basketball and even football, but hockey, you get in, you have a shot.
Yep.
Traditionally, maybe not always, but you have a shot. We've seen some crazy teams make runs. The Flyers' last run they made the playoffs on the last day. They're 8 seed. They made a run all the way to the cup. So, but the better team should their still win.
I was there at Game 6. Didn't know the puck was in.
We were there game when they won in overtime, right, Chalky?
The Giroux game.
Game
Giroux
3,
three.
yes.
Yeah, I was there for Game 6. I saw the cup.
Yeah. Well, we would have knew they were going to lose if we knew you were there.
It's true. I was at the Lindros Stevens game. I was at so many historically bad. I was at the Rondé Barber interception game. I was at so many bad Philadelphia.
I think we, and I'll finish off unless you guys have one more thing for Ben, but I think I told this story. I was at the Flyers Devils game when Berube scored to make it 3-2. It was a game 5 or game 6. Then the Lindros Stevens game. And who was sitting in front of me, who I did not know at the time, was Chalky. Never
Get
met
outta
him
here.
before in my life. He was sitting in front of me.
And what year was this?
This is 2000. It was game 4.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, so I was with Garofalo or whatever, and he was talking to Jimmy, but I never even said, hey, this is because they just went to college. I think it was
I met Garofalo. He was a year ahead of us or a year ahead of me, 2 years ahead of you. So you were about to start. Let's say I had already had a year with Garofalo. We saw the concourse, and there were you guys. One guy had like a yellow jersey or something.
Well, I was with the guy with the famous yellow flag.
Yeah, I'm like, who the hell wears the yellow Flyers jersey? But yeah, and that's turns out it was one of Garofalo's friends, and then was one of his guys. So that was great because we were walking back in the tunnel at the Meadowlands, banging last home game, and then
it was like World War II. There was beer bar.
They came in, won the cup that year.
It was insane.
That Pittsburgh, that was the 5 overtime year.
Yes,
and then
Primo.
I went to the game after that when Andy Delmore had a hat trick.
The hat trick,
yeah, I remember.
That was an unbelievable run that year.
So just some.
You probably weren't even born, honestly.
Wasn't born yet.
2000, and that was. I mean, they were a good team because I think they finished first in points in the East that year. But Boucher took over as number 1 goalie and was hot the whole playoffs. So that was.
Well, the Pittsburgh series, they lost the first 2 games.
They lost the first 2 at home.
But they were done.
Yeah, and then Pittsburgh was pigs. The rest of the way.
You guys got anything else for Ben? And we'll wrap this up a little bit past what we normally like to do.
Ben was great.
Yeah, great. Just 2 corrections. My mind doesn't work well on a Friday night. So the Flyer I was thinking of was not a Russian, but an Eastern player. Peter Nedved was the one I was trying to think of. And then I was way off on the Tampa player. It was a Tampa player that got traded to the Canadians, but that was Jonathan Drouin, not a Russian player who was a very high pick that flopped. But yeah.
He's bounced around to a couple of teams, I think.
Drouin was supposed to be a good player. He just never panned out.
No, he did not. He went back.
Is he still playing or not? He was on Colorado recently. I don't know.
Good question. Let's see. I had his thing up here a second ago. Drouin. He played for the Islanders and Blues this season.
Wow. I can't believe he's still around.
Yeah, these guys hang. I just saw Ovechkin said he doesn't think he played his best game, so he's talking about.
And
I think Yager's still playing out in the Russian league.
Yeah, Yager. He's
he's 50. I mean, every year now it's Ovechkin, Malkin. That's all this could be their last go round, all that with these guys, but they're still hanging around.
Right. Well, thanks to Ben, special guest, and if the Flyers continue to go deep into the playoffs, we'll be sure to have you back. Good job. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Next week, I think, is another kind of, we'll figure it out. Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, we'll give updates on our playoffs. So we'll have a few games under our belt. And then it's the Derby the week after that. So,
anyone going to any of the Flyers games or no?
Not I.
No.
If they make it to the conference finals, maybe they'll jump on the bandwagon.
They'll be on the bandwagon.
All right, episode 202, Broad Street Hustle. Thanks to Ben and the crew. Have a great night.
Yep. See you guys.